factorial. You know, we could always record every single lesson, and it's not a problem. So feel free to remind me to press the record button. Right. All right. So if you have no questions, put on your hand. Indrani, you have a question for me, or you just forget to put on your hand? Okay. So now here we go. We are multiplying our matrix to another matrix. And so copy it down. I just made up, just like how we were choosing numbers by random, I just making up a sum here, right? It could have been any numbers in here. Could have been fractions, could have been positive or negative numbers. It don't matter. But right now, let's go with some easy small numbers. Okay. By now, everybody should have copied up to here. So here's the next step. What we do is we check the order of the two matrices to see if the sum could actually work out. Okay, so and I'll explain what I mean. This matrix is a 2 by 2 matrix. And what is the order of this matrix? Anybody?
2 by 1.
2 by 1.
Very nice. It's 2 rows, 1 column. 2 by 1. When you do this, you're going to check and see if this number and this number is the same. Yes, they look the same. They're the same number. They're both 2. Okay? If these two numbers are the same, then we could continue the sum. In other words, if these two numbers are the same, then the sum could work out and give you an answer. If these two numbers were different, then you can't work it out. It means that you got a stupid, ridiculous sum, which cannot be worked out. The person gave you garbage.
So I could underline my own too, right?
Yes, you could underline it, you could highlight it, you could circle it. What the point I'm making, make sure you understand. You're checking to see if these two numbers are the same. Right? Maybe you could write that down. We check.
So you can see what we just did, so
We
you're
check.
breaking up on my side.
I'm writing it down. We check to see if and I call these the two inner numbers. Are you okay with that? Saying these are the inner numbers? These are the outside numbers. These are inside numbers, right? Or the inner numbers. We check to see if the two inner numbers are the same. So then, if they're the same, we can continue. If they're different, stop right there. The sum cannot be worked out. Okay? You want to write all that down? You don't really have to, but being muted, you might forget. So
I write down all the information. It is important.
All right, so if same, we can continue. If different, stop. Your sum's stupid. You can't work it out. You've been given garbage to work out. It's impossible. You know, like when you chuck something in a calculator and the calculator mark error message because it just can't work it out. Right. It's like that. So are we clear on that? Copy it down.
Sir.
It's 3 points we make in here. This one, this point, and that point. 3 points. Now, let me tell you a story. Right? Doctors have scientists have figured out how to check people's genes or their DNA to see if like say two people get married and they want to have children, right? And they could go by a doctor or a scientist and they could check their two DNAs to see if they are compatible to give a healthy child, or if the DNA have a problem between the two of them that the child will come out deformed, or the child might come out sickly with heart problems or something like that. So they could probably even be told how likely it is that the child will come out sick. And true story, my father, best friend, got married to a nice, pretty girl and so on when it was a long time ago. And the doctors did warn them that how, based on whatever blood type and whatever sicknesses they had in their past as children and so on, the doctor advised them that they should not have children because the children very likely to come out sick with some kind of blood disorder or heart disease or some kind of problem. And they so badly wanted children that they they did make a child, and the child ended up born sick and had to get some kind of operation and so on. Well, the child's still alive, but the child never was very strong. Always a kind of weak, skinny, weakling person. And to make matters worse, they actually went and make a second child, and that child also had a different kind of sickness problem and had to get operation and so on, and is also alive today, grown up and adult, however still also quite sickly with a lot of medical problems. So now this reminds me of what we are doing here when we're checking to see if the sum could work out. What we are trying to do is think of this as the husband and the wife, and we are trying to predict what the child is going to look like. And this is what the child is going to look like. You see the outside numbers, the 2 and the 1. We write that here. We write that 2 by 1. Our child will look like a 2 by 1 matrix. What does a 2 by 1 matrix look like again? It has 2 rows. Remember, there are 2 rows, 1 row, 2 rows. Has 2 rows, and it has 1 column. Just like this, 2 rows, 1 column. So when we do this check, we are not just checking if the sum could continue, we are also checking to predict the shape of the child. Everyone understand what I just said? Any questions about
Yes.
it? Okay.
No, sir, no question.
All right. Good. Now that we have everybody draw this here, you
Okay.
don't have to use the colors, but you would like to show that there are 2 rows, 1 column. So 2 rows and 1 column. You could write it in like that too if you want, as beginners to this thing. Okay, everyone done? Copy this. We're gonna
Yes, sir.
we Okay, so now it's like a recipe here. Like how I'm teaching you how to make a cake, and you have to remember all the steps to take to bake this cake. Right? It's a long set of steps in how to multiply these matrices. And the first step was kind of easy. Yeah. So up to now we are easy. Now I need to tell you something called an element. You see these numbers inside a matrix? These numbers are called elements. In case you watch any of those videos, they would have said that. This one is an element, this is another element, this is another element. So here, this matrix has 4 elements. And this matrix has 2 elements. How much elements are going to be in this matrix?
Two.
2. One number up here, one number down here. Okay, very good. Now, I might have to write this over, and you all too will write it over in a little while. Don't start writing as yet. Let me explain. Now, every element, right? This is an element and that's an element. Every element has an address. An address tells you where it is, right? Every single element in this matrix has an address. That kind of reminds you of the internet. There's something called an IP address. Everybody internet or everybody computer that they're using at home have something called an IP address where you could identify that computer is using the internet. Now, the point is every number here has an address. And let me explain to you what the address is. Think again, row by column. Let's look at this 5 and let's forget this answer here. Just look at the 5 and the 7. And let's just talk about what address this 5 is. Okay? What row is the 5 in? Is it in row 1 or row 2?
Row 1.
Okay, so this
So
5.
1, the address will be 11.
That row, right? So I would write it. I just not write the 11, but that means you well watched the YouTube video. Very nice. It's in row 1, and what column is the 5 in? Just forget everything else. Just look at that matrix alone. That's what
Column.
the first column. In fact, it's only one column there. So it's row 1, column 1. That's how I write it. I don't write it as 11. I write it as R1.
Yes, I understand it better like this.
And now this 7 is has an address as well. It's what row is it? Let's look at the green marker. What row is this 7 in? 7 would be,
2.
it's row 2. And what column is it in? It's still in one column and column 1.
Oh, yeah.
Forget about the rest of matrices. We're only looking at that one. So it's only one column. So it's row 2, but it's still column 1. So there you just got a mini lesson in this sum. You've just learned about the address of an element. Now we could do it with every single element here. What is their address and so on. But let me talk about the address of this element and the address of that element. Okay? What is the address of this element up here? What row is it in?
4.
Is it, forget all the other matrices, watch that one alone.
Yeah, row 1.
It is in
First.
row 1. And what column is it in?
The first column. 1.
First column. So it's row 1, column 1. And then the address of the next number, which would be down here, would be row 2, because remember it's the green circles is the rows. First row, second row. It will be row 2 and it will be column 1 still. I hope you all caught that on. All right, it's all new to you, so it will take a little while to get the hang of it. Column 1. All right. Now, this is important, what we just did. And I'm going to write it over. And I will put this R1C1 inside here. I kind of draw it kind of small, so I can't fit it in here. But I'm going to write it over where the R1C1, I'll put it inside here. And the R2C1, I'll write it inside here. So we'll all do that together, and then we'll continue the sum. So follow me, everyone. Let's start it over. Right? Example 1, 2, 3, and 4. That was a 2 by 2 matrix being multiplied to 5 and 7. That was a 2 by 1 matrix. We eliminate the inside numbers, which is the same. So we get a 2 by 1 matrix as the answer that we're looking for. And we're going to write it here. A 2 by 1 matrix means we've got 2 rows. This is one row, and this is another row. And it's just one column. Only one number going to be in this circle, and one number going to be in this circle. What's the address? You can put back that piece of wood for me, please, Vedan. I was teaching my students about row by column in matrices using a piece of wood.
Big of a column.
All right then. Thanks for moving that piece of wood for me. Son walk in the bedroom and he bunks up the piece of wood. You're real confused what a big piece of wood doing in the bedroom. All right. What I was saying. These here, this circle just means that a number gonna be here, or an element gonna be here, and an element gonna be here. What's the address? The address of it was row 1, column 1, and the address here was row 2, column 1. Please don't forget it's column 1. It's only one column. Have I lost you, or are we good to go? It's the same thing that I wrote here, except that instead of me writing it on the outside, I
Yes,
write
so
it inside.
Oh yes, I
here.
understand.
I write it inside here because it neater this way, and this is the method we're going to use. Okay, we know that our matrix is 2 rows, and I draw the rows kind of longish, like a big loaf of bread, and it's one column, so it's one bread on top of another bread. That's only one column. Now everybody, even though you've seen R1, C1, it's not 2 different numbers. It's all just one number in here. And even though you've seen R2, C1, it's not 2 different numbers. It's only one number inside of here. Are we clear on that?
Yes, sir.
Now, we reach to the next step, figuring out what number goes here and what number goes here. Now, has everyone copied this? Because I need everyone to reach here before we continue. Okay, the
so,
next.
yeah, we seen. I reached there, right? So, but I had to write in the address, so we had to use the column.
You have to write it. You have to write in this address exactly as I write it. Yeah, good. Good that you asked. Copy it exactly as this. That's why I spend the time writing it over in the first place, for it to have it like this. We reach to the most difficult part.
So weird. I need to grab water, so because it feels real hot, and I don't want to miss out this one. I could just get some water. So
Everybody go drink some water now if you need to, and come back and tell me when you're ready to continue. We have the time. Go ahead. Go ahead. And if anybody want to old talk, or you could old talk. While we wait on some people to drink water or go and pee and whatever.
So, I think I have an idea how this working out, and I say,
Yeah,
right.
no, whilst they do now, let me get my pencil.
So it didn't start, right? It didn't start yet? Because I come back.
No, I didn't start as yet.
Good, thank God.
Okay. Now, I'm going to do a lot of writing with the pencil and a lot of rubbing off with the pencil. So don't write what my pencil is writing. Everyone clear on what I'm saying? I am going to write with my pencil, but what I'm writing with my pencil, do not copy that part down. Don't copy the pencil, because the pencil will be rubbing off and then writing back and rubbing off and writing back. I'm only using it to explain the work. And having said that, I need to go to the next room to get a pencil. I'll be back. Okay, now remember what we say. Think row by column. Okay, matrices is all about row by column. We use it to know the order of a matrix. We even use row by column to multiply matrices. And let me explain how that is done now. Okay. By the way, Ashanti, you come back?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Everybody come back? You're good to go? Raise your hands if you're ready to go. I don't want to leave anybody behind. Well, the majority all raise your hands, so I'm continuing. Plus, it's being recorded. Good. Hands down, everyone. Okay, so we reach here. We're ready for the next step. Look at this. Would you mind if I just call it a loaf of bread? Okay. Look at this loaf of bread. Its name is row 1, column 1. What it means is that you're going to take row 1 here. This is row 1. And you're going to multiply row 1 to column 1 of the next matrix. Row 1 of the first matrix is being multiplied to column 1 of the next matrix. So I'm going to, no, don't circle them. You just look at them because I'll have to rub it off in a little while. Row 1 and column 1. Now here's what we doing when I say you multiply row by column. It means you're taking this 1 and you're timesing it by this 5. And you're taking this 2 and you're timesing it by this 7. Are you hearing what I'm saying? The first number times the first number and the second number times the second number. So what I will write now, if you have space in your book here to write, you could write it here. If you want, you could write it below. I will write it below. Row 1, column 1 now is 1 times 5. 1 times the 5. And you're adding that answer to 2 times the 7. 2 times the 7. And you put all of that in a loaf of bread. All of that will work out to just one number.
Excuse me, sir, where the plus sign come from? I get confused there.
Anytime you try to add it.
That's the rule. You times the numbers, the 1 to the 5, and you times the 2 to the 7, and you add up those two things. You add up the, that's the rule. Wait, I'm getting a notification here. Let me just check it out. Excuse. All right. I'll come back. That was a good question. Where that plus come from? That plus come from the recipe that I am given to you. The instructions I'm given to you is You times the 1 to the 5, and then you add the 2 times the 7. That's what row 1 by column 1 means. Row 1 times column 1 means you times those numbers and add it up like that. I hope that is okay with you all. But that was only first bread. Are you all ready to continue?
Also, I understand it. All right, I understand.
Well, let's see, right? It sometimes might take a few tries for people to catch it. Let's look at the next bread now. Row 2 by column 1. That's where I need to rub off my pencil. Where did I put that pen? Yeah. So let me rub off all of this now. Because I want to circle row 2, not row 1 now. Oh my God, I choose a pen. What kind of rubber is this? Nah, it ruined my whole lesson. Oh. Okay, students, so I'll have to just put up with the messy thing. Here we go. Row 2. Now we're going to figure out what answer goes in this position. Row 2 of this matrix is here, and it's been multiplied to column 1 of the next matrix, which happens to be the same column as before. Row 2 by column 1. It means that the 3 will times the 5, and the 4 will times to the 7. The 3 times the 5 will then add to the 4 times the 7. 3 times the 5. Then you add 4 times the 7. I ain't bothering to write the x, because if I write x and thing for times, it does make it like take up more space on the paper. Any questions about that so far?
No, sir.
All right, make sure everyone copy that out. And then what we're going to do is work out the answer here. Okay? We're going to go in small, careful steps, like a delicate upper surgery that we're doing. How much is 1 times 5? 5. 2 times 7 is 14.
14.
14.
So it means
The answer is 9.
our top bread is 5 times 14, which is 19, and right. But I'm going to go in,
90.
but I'm taking it in small, careful, safe steps, so that because you realize, because we have so many different steps, if you're a careless math student, God help you, you're going to make mistake all over the place. You have to be extremely, extremely careful to reach to the answer, to the correct answer in the end. And we continue. 3 times 5, 15.
Right, 15.
And then you add it to the 4 times 7 is 28.
28.
So I'll put that in my second bread, because I like to use this kind of bread thing or bubble thing or whatever you want to call it. It kind of encapsulate a little piece of math sum that you have to work out. Now we could continue. Well, I kind of run out of space here, so I'll just come to the side here to work to give away the final answer. 5 and 14, 19.
19.
And 15 and 28 is
43.
40.
43.
All right, nice. That's on 43. And now your answer will look like this. Simply a number on top and a number below. Isn't that what we had predicted since we were doing the little child prediction here? 2 rows, 1 column.
Yes, sir.
So this is how you end up with 2 rows. Oops, 2 rows, 1 column. All right, and that's your final answer, by the way. You're done right there. 19 and 43. It's a long, long, dangerous set of steps to take. Now, I invented this kind of bread method because I find when they do it in textbooks and even on internet and so on YouTube, they don't circle the sum. They just write out the numbers and it could get kind of confusing which what are the pieces that you're working out. So when I circle it like that, I get a good idea of the pieces that I have to play with and work out. And even though it looks very big like this, or it even looks like four numbers, like how you have a square matrix like this, it looking like a square matrix, but don't be fooled. By the time you work it out, it will turn into a simple skinny matrix, a 2 by 1 matrix. Good. Now, if you thought that was hard, just imagine you will have to do matrices like this, where sometimes the numbers are negative. And that makes it even more tricky than this. And to make matters even harder, sometimes the numbers are fractions. And then you will end up with fractions in here to work out as well. And that's where a calculator with a fraction button will really be a best friend in an exam. Okay, so I'm gonna give you all a nice easy one to try now. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go through it in small steps. And we'll see if we could get the hang of it, right? Let's all practice one. Oh, by the way, all you done copy?
So
Yeah.
you say we're gonna practice one, so we're gonna go back to all that long step you take, or we could shorten it. We're going back long.
Okay, so now let me show you, as you say, shorten it. When I was a beginner, this is what I would do. Okay, just like any kind of swimming class you're going in, you start off at beginner level and then you go up to advanced. When you're a beginner, this is how you will do it. After you have practiced many sums as a beginner and you have gained the skill level of an advanced person in the sum, only then you could jump from this area here straight to here and to here. In other words, you all are beginners and I would recommend you do all of this, all this writing. But after practicing it, only with practice, you can go and write this, this, and this alone. It takes a lot of practice. Think of it like we baking a cake. You can't just bake one cake and feel you could do it. No, I expect you to bake 100 cake first before you could take shortcut like this. So Karel, telling you it as it is because I know you want to try and take shortcut. And
Excuse me, sir.
I recommend that you don't take the shortcut
Sir?
for now. Yes.
Excuse sir.
Yes.
So, well, I did this already with my lesson teacher, and he taught me a totally, I would say, easier way, a right to the some way. So, like, I'm asking, do I have to do it your way, or or can I do it his way? Because it's basically the same. It just doesn't have all these steps.
Sure. In fact, when we have some free time, I would like it for you to show me it, but not right now with the class. But I already
Okay.
intrigued to see it because then I would decide if to teach it that way from in the future. Even what you say in there, other students show me a different way to work it out, and well, I just have my method and other people have their method. I think they have its advantages and disadvantages. But one thing for sure, Leah, you are allowed, if you already practice it a certain way and could get it out, not a problem at all. And,
Okay,
you
sir.
have to keep one thing in mind, Leah. When I teach it this way, I am trying to teach it in a way that could appeal to all types of learners. For example, different people have different strengths and weaknesses, you know. So this is why I choose this method to do the sum, because when I was taught it, I wasn't, when I was taught matrices, I wasn't taught it this way either. But I kind of come up with this method to try, this is me trying my best to appeal to all types of learners in the class, all right? But I'm still curious to hear your method in the future, so I'll decide if to change it or not. All right, guys. One thing for sure, you see how I draw the circle around it? I still think that is a lot of a good safe maths technique. You don't need to draw the circle in the end when you present your final answer. But whilst you're doing any kind of calculations, you could show the pieces that you are doing, the pieces of working that you are doing. All right, guys, let's go and try one now. Okay. I'm still giving you only positive numbers to work with, since we started off on an easy level. All right, let's call this question 1. We're going to multiply 5, 2, 1, and 3. And you're going to multiply that to the number 4 and 2. Okay. So you all give it a try. Look back at the working that you did before. Try and remember all the steps with checking what the child will look like and so on. Go ahead. I've given you 10 minutes if you need all 10 minutes. Um, when you're done, raise your hand. You can start now. Okay, I done already. I'm just telling you that not to show off, but to let you all know that with practice, there are shortcuts that you can take where you can work out the answer that fast. But I wouldn't want you to rush it. Do it the way I teach you it for now. All these small, careful steps. What? Who's that? Leah? Okay,
Yes,
Leah,
I
you
finished
can.
already. Too.
All right. All right. Raise your hands when you're done. Keep your hands up when you're done. So,
I done too, sir.
raise your hand. I kind of lost track of who said they done and thing. All right. Carol don't like to raise your hand at all, or you just The rest of you all don't feel flustered by those who finish already. Take all your time and be careful. Now, if you're kind of lost and you want to and you're ready to see the answer, you could raise your hand too. Okay, in case any of you all feeling a little bit overwhelmed or lost in it, or you get yourself tied up and you're ready to see the answer to get help, you could still raise your hand. So I'll know that we can continue. All right, guys. How about we go through the answer together? Now I know there are shortcuts, and especially those who either catch it on really fast or those who have experience with it already. But I'm teaching it this method, bear with me, because I think this method, I have my reasons, just trust me on it. And based on my experience, I've taught a class where it had this girl who was so excited that she came to class and said, "Sir, after me teaching it for a couple of weeks, and she was struggling in class, she came to class a day and said, Sir, I finally understand how to multiply matrices. I learned in my lessons class and think I could do it real good now." And I gave them one to do, and it, I feel real sorry for her because she still did it wrong. And she was a willing student who was trying really hard. But not for nothing she would try it my method. Well, and she was still getting it wrong over and over. So and the ones who did it my method got through and things. So uh I believe that the method could help you in the long run. Okay, now as I say, we are doing it this method only as beginners. After practicing it a lot, you will have my full permission to take shortcuts, just like I took a shortcut and work it out really fast just now. Okay, so let's go on with the method that I showed you. This is a 2 by 2 matrix, and this is 2 rows, 1 column. We look for the inner numbers to see if they're the same. So now we can leave them out, and we have the outcome or the answer will be a 2 by 1 matrix. 2 by 1 means 2 rows, 1 column, 1 column. Then what I do is I write.
So you're not. Oh, okay. That was not going on. See, never mind.
Good. Now what you do is you're writing the address of the whatever number is going to be here. What is its address? It's going to be, this is row 1, column 1. This is the second row, so it have to be row 2, but it's still the first column, so it's column 1. This here just gives students trouble. But the thing is, if you get in trouble here, most likely you'll get trouble in the whole sum. So be very careful of this. Make your corrections if you have any corrections to make here one time. Ready to continue?
Yes, sir.
Row 1
Yep.
by column 1. Row 1 by column 1. It is a 5 times a 4 added to a 2 times a 2. Let me write it out carefully. All right, it's a 5 times a 4 added to 2 by 2 times a 2. That's my row 1 by column 1. That's my first top piece of bread. Below piece of bread is row 2 by column 1. Row 2, which is the 1 and the 3, being multiplied to the 4 and the 2. 1 times the 4 being added to a 3 times a 2. Row by column, 3 times the 2.
Shit, I went wrong.
Make your corrections if you have any corrections to make there. Some people make mistakes adding careless mistakes. They end up putting the
I
wrong
didn't know
numbers.
one. Yeah, I didn't know one number 3.
You're catching it on now, at least. Yeah.
Yes,
As I
sir.
say, if you're a student who makes a lot of silly mistakes with numbers, or if you're a dyslexic person who does get tied up easily with stuff, it will be quite difficult to master. Okay. And it will take you, but all you have to do is persevere, practice hard, and go through a lot of sums like it until you get the hang of it. You will overcome it. Just like any video game that you just stick with it and you stick with it, eventually you get better at it. So let's go. 5 times 4 is 20. I'll bring down the add sign. 2 times 2 is 4. Next one, 1 times 4 is 4. Add 3 times 2 is 6. By the way, let me show you my working, because you remember you saw how I got out the answer really fast. Let me show you what I did whilst I tell you to start. See the 20 by 4? I wrote it down. I worked it out right there. 20 by 4, 24. 20 add 4, 24.
So I do the same thing like that.
Good. So you see, who's that, Leah?
Yes, sir.
So
That's immediately what it is.
So
I get an answer too.
So
good.
I get the answer, sir, but oh, go on. I was gonna do. What the hell, right?
So now the thing is this, it is possible to take shortcuts. However,
Anyway, sir.
if you learn the shortcut, you think CXE might send a mystery question. They might send you something. Remember, they'll send you some kind of harder question. So the thing is, you're not just going to be able to. You need to be have a good, thorough understanding of how to do the sum, and if they change up the sum slightly, how to do it still. Okay,
Excuse
but
you.
very good.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to do it like dinosaur, but you tell me to do it a long way now, and why it take so long? A little long now, boy. I take long, but I'd have finished faster.
You think I don't know that, Karel?
So we can put on your hand now.
Yeah. Yes, yes. And you know, as I say, don't be like the student I had in the past. I ain't gonna call her name, or in case you knew her from the past. Don't be like that student who just wanted to rush things and always making silly mistakes. All right. Now, I know this looking as if it's safer, but trust me, it have harder sums coming further down the road. Remember, this is the first sum I given you to do on your own. So this is still very easy. And as I said, if you practice this method and you really get a good understanding of this method, then you will graduate to this method. It's not that I'm going to keep you doing this long method for the rest of your life. Okay? But if you want to jump to this, think about it. You think people are doing black belt and ninja just so? You go to one karate class and yay, he's an expert.
Right.
You had to put in the work, right? So you put in
So
the
I go
training.
beat up the master and get a black belt.
Put in the work like this first, and then you will become a great maths ninja like this down the road. But try, don't, I know some of you are excited and full of zeal and enthusiasm to jump to this one time. Okay? And I will not stop you, but I could only advise you all to please take it slow first and then jump to this later on. Even if it's just 1 week later, by next week, if we could jump to this, very good. In fact, it's a dream of mine if in about 2 weeks' time we do matrices and we could skip all of this long step and we could jump to this with the whole class. But I could imagine that they will have some students in class 2 weeks later who will not be able to handle this still. And if I jump to this, they will be at a loss. So my advice is, remember, I'm not teaching one person, I'm teaching everybody, different type of learners. So this way I'm trying to help everybody. All right. So we almost coming down to the end of our lesson. I mean, actually, this is the end of the lesson. Or you learn how to multiply matrices. Now,
I surprised class already finished. Like wow.
now listen. What we just did there was multiplying 2 by 2 to a 2 by 1. But there's another kind of matrix. Like suppose it was 5, 2, 1, 3 being multiplied to 4, 2, 1, 7. This is another kind of thing which we will do on next day. We don't have time to do this now and practice it now and so on. But I'm just saying this is a like how you have them movie previews. This is a preview of what is going to come next day. But what I'm going to give you all for homework would only be 2 by 2 by a 2 by 1. Practice
So
it.
the next way, that one harder.
Very much harder, and this method is the one thing which will save you if you're getting tired up. Now, some people don't get tired up. To be honest with you, I was gifted. When my maths teacher teach me something, I used to just remember it real good. Whereas when it comes to history,
I same
I have
thing here, sir.
right. And when it comes to history, I have very terrible memory. So in social studies and thing, when teacher teaching me social studies and history and thing, I had terrible memory with those things. Yet I could still remember sitting down in my class in standard 5 and the teacher taught us how to find the circumference of a circle and thing. I don't know. I just wired, my brain is wired like that. And that is where not everybody brain wired like that. So I given you the freedom. I even show you that yes, there is a shortcut, and I will not punish you if you're taking shortcuts. But if you're taking shortcuts and again wrong answers, I hope you have the wisdom to go back to this long method and practice it, because I strongly believe this long method will help you in the long run to eventually achieve the speed that you're looking for. Okay. So anyway, guys, any questions before we close off? You have to give me a 10, 15 minutes or so to put together some questions for you for homework. And I'll post it up in posts. Give me a 15 minutes or so to put it together, and then you'll see what's your homework in post. Any
So yeah,
questions?
the homework is for like again we marks for trying it.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. Yeah, 10 points for trying it. I keep in
Sir,
track of that. Mm-hmm. Yes, Carol. Your mic
no
cut
bother,
off.
sir.
Okay. Yes. Any more things before we go?
I just want to say I really enjoyed this math class unlike science because like we just be feeling so tired when we have science. So like I tell that teachers be talking so confusing. That's just my point of view. But this math class was actually fun. Like it actually went like so fast, and
Okay.
sciences were like so slow. But
Well,
yeah,
Good. Glad for you. And good. Yeah, the thing is, I really find matrices should have been taught in Form 4, Term 1. I find it will strengthen people in maths so much better that way, and then jump into harder algebra later on down the road. But I guess that's not what the ministry wanted. All right, guys, thanks for coming to class, and it was good to see such a good attendance in class. And good luck with your homework, which you'll see in a little while. Take care.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you, sir.
everyone.
All right, bye bye.
See you later. Uh-huh.